Welcome back to the Retro Sports Gamer channel. And tonight I am going to give my personal tournament report and review of the tournament that I went to last Saturday, which was Blono Tecmo 15, the last Mosi. And I think this is the longest Tecmo Super Bowl tournament that is running that we know about. Now this tournament popped up on TecmoBowl.org in October sometime. And before that, I never knew it existed, even though it was in my home state. So in October, I see this on the boards. At this time, I'm deciding if I should go to Tundra Bowl 5, which I was most likely going to go to if this tournament didn't pop up out of nowhere. So I looked at the posting, and Tim Mann is the organizer of this tournament. And I saw there was no cash prize, nothing like that. They had a very unique way of putting this one together. And it was a $25 entry fee, and that included all the alcohol and food. They threw the tournament in a big warehouse in Bloomington, Illinois. And yeah, they've been doing this for 15 years so far. Found out that one of the previous Madison winners, Derek Rubel, Tecmo Psycho, won the tournament last year. But previously, they were honoring the local as the person that has won the tournament. And that is the person they put on the championship belt. So that was one of the things that I found really intriguing about this tournament, was that Tecmo Bowl championship belt that they had. That belt I've seen online for about 3 years, and I always thought it was just an awesome piece of art and wanted to get my hands on one. I even actually contacted that company because they do advertise that as one of the belts that they've worked on. And it's an expensive belt for sure. I think they quoted me like over $500 for the belt. So I knew they had some expensive hardware over there in Bloomington, Illinois. And they call it Blono Tecmo because their neighboring towns, Bloomington and Normal, Illinois. And so they just call that area Blono. They just combine the two. And that's where they get the tournament name from. But anyways, I wanted to check this one out. It was only a little over 2 hours away from Chicago. So that's what I did. I invited a couple people with me. My cousin Sean, who went to Tundra Bowl 4 with me last year. I see the chat. I'll answer some questions after I get through this tournament report. And my cousin Sean was coming with me no matter what. I invited Joseph, Green Magic, DPS, Tecmo Bo, and my cousin's girlfriend came with. I don't know if she regrets that or not. And then my brother Matt, he went to run the stream with us. But anyways, so that's who we ended up going with. A lot of the guys play at Demon Tap. We try to go to Demon Tap at least 2 Mondays a month to play some Tecmo Super Bowl. Call it Monday Night Football. But yeah, they ended up coming through. We went up there together, and I got to finally use the 9-inch Zenith TV that I bought last year, hoping that I could use it on the way up to Tundra Bowl, but it came after the tournament. We did end up using a 13-incher on the way up there. It just didn't work as well as falling down. Anyways, we went up there, so we were playing some Tecmo Super Bowl on a 9-incher. My brother decided to pull all-nighter, sleep 45 minutes, and come run the stream at Bloomington Blono Tecmo tournament, and I'm surprised he held up. But we got there, and it was exactly as advertised. We walked in. It was in a warehouse. They had a little bar in the corner. There was like an old car there. There was like a blow-up doll in there, and the people were really nice, but they had like a little registration table, and at the registration table they give you a little koozie, so that's included. I didn't even know that was part of it, but there was different colored koozies that look like this, with a little cup in the background. And then they also gave you this wristband Bloomington Tecmo XV. So those were included in the entry fee as well, $25. I haven't taken this bracelet off since this wristband since the tournament, and my wife made a comment about it today. She's like, "Are you ever going to take that off?" I'm like, I don't know. I just haven't taken it off yet. I think she was a little perturbed that I don't wear my wedding ring, and I was wearing this for a week. So I don't think she was too happy about that. So I might have to take it off soon. But anyways, it's cool to have a couple giveaways included in the entry fee. But I got there, talked to Tim a little bit. I think Chris set us up with a nice card table for the live stream. And they had everything set up when we got there. And we got there probably right at 11. The tournament started at noon. And, yeah, they had the setup ready. So they had a lot of guys there to get everything organized. The TVs were all good size. I don't think I've seen anything smaller than like a 19-inch. So everything was good to play on. The one thing you would think going into a tournament like this, since there's going to be a lot of drinking, a lot of people are there just to have fun, not necessarily care too much about the tournament, is you don't know how smooth the tournament's going to run. But this is their 15th year, and they were well organized for the tournament. They had a guy, his name's Mike Peace. He was there running the show as far as the tournament is considered and organized. And he was getting everyone to play their games when we moved on to bracket play. Because in group play, everything, they had the groups taped to the TVs on the side, so you knew exactly what group you were in. So yeah, I wanted to check this out since it wasn't a high-pressure tournament at all. You knew you weren't coming away with cash. You could come away with glory, and the best thing you come away with is that championship belt and a paid entry to Madison, which I would have liked both of those things. But I knew once Tecmo Bo said that he was coming with, because I did invite him a couple months earlier. I'm like, I wonder if he forgot that I invited him, but he ended up saying, yeah, I want to go to the tournament. As you know, he's the one who ultimately won the tournament, so that decreased everyone's chances a little bit that we were going with, because he's a great player, and he beats us up a little bit at Demon Tap. But yeah, so we get there. It pretty much starts on time. Tim's funny with his speech that he gives at the beginning. He had some good jokes for us, and on the live stream you could actually hear him talking a little bit in the background. So if you want to hear what Tim said, go back to the channel, watch the live stream, the beginning of it. So yeah, the first game. So now I'll talk a little bit about my personal standing at the tournament. So my first game was against Donnie Balu, and I never played Donnie before. I can't remember if I talked to him before or after we played, but I found out that he has played at Madison 3 times. So he's an experienced player, and that was my first game of the tournament. Play Donnie. I called the matchup Dolphins KC. He goes with KC, and his first drive, he pretty handily gets down the field, scores on me, and shortly after the power goes out, and a lot of the TVs are affected by this, and I was wondering if this was going to be an ongoing issue, because this happened the first game, like the very first game, the power goes out, a bunch of the TVs shut off. I don't know how the live stream stayed up. That wasn't affected. But anyways, power goes out, gets reset. He already scored a touchdown on me, so I just told Donnie, I'm like, I'll just let you score on me again and just kick it off after you scored a touchdown. So we did that. The game was pretty much back and forth, besides in the second quarter he had a fumble, which let me take command of this game as far as being up by a touchdown the whole time. It was back and forth ever since then. The game ended 21-17, close game. I was in the red zone about to score when the game ended in the fourth quarter, but Donnie kept it close. didn't have a ton of success stopping him besides for that fumble and holding him to a field goal. So he played that game really well. And I was looking at it like, oh man, this tournament is not it's not going to be easy. I haven't played the Bloomington locals yet because Donnie told me he was not a Bloomington local. He's an Illinois native, but not from Bloomington. So that was the first game. Second game was against Cole. Cole told me he was a newer player. Beat him 42-14. He said he's more into Madden, but he's willing to learn some Tecmo Super Bowl. But he was one of the guys that was there just to have a good time. But he was willing to learn about the game, so I sent him a playbook after group play, and yeah, I think after that he lost some interest and was more interested in beer pong. But anyways, next game I played Brian. I called the matchup. It was Cincinnati, Philadelphia. He went with the Eagles. It was kind of a slow start. We really didn't score much in the first quarter, but after that, just turned it on with Boomer Esiason and got up huge between quarters 2 and 3. At one point, the score was 28-0, I think, and ended up finishing 35-14. Looking at the stream afterwards, I noticed that I didn't even run the whole game, so I was just passing on him. Brian, you could tell he was a Bloomington native. He knew how to play Tecmo. He had a good playbook. The only thing that I noticed he was doing, and this was consistent versus all the people he's playing against, he was using the inside linebacker no matter which team it was. So that, you can exploit that offensively. So if Brian just switches up his defensive strategy a little bit, he'll be a better player and he could hang in there and make a run in the future at Blono. But otherwise, he played that game pretty well. So what they did, I was in a 4-player group, and there were some 5-player groups. So what they did in this tournament is they took the standings after your first 3 games if you were in a 4-player group, but the first seed played the second seed again to determine seeding, and then the 3rd and 4th seed played for who goes to the beer league bracket and who goes to the powder puff bracket. The other groups, the first 2 were in, and then I'm not exactly sure who made the beer. I think 3rd place made the beer, and the other ones were in the powder puff. So, anyways, I had to play Donnie again, and I was looking forward to this matchup because he gave me such a good game in the first one. And he called Buffalo Giants. This was the first time I didn't have to call a matchup. Went with the Giants. Their defense is just too stacked. I can't not pick the Giants in that matchup. He got off to a slow start. I was overwhelming him defensively a little bit. I was taking shots down the field because that Buffalo secondary, the interception is not high, so I don't mind chucking up a few, taking a chance. And at one point it was 31-7. He did score, or 31-0. He did score on the last play of the game to close the gap to 31-7. But that wasn't Donnie's game, and that wasn't his best effort. Hey Troy, how's it going out? If you got any questions for me, I could definitely answer them once I go through this report. So yeah, that was the group play, and then you went into championship and elimination bracket. So I was 4-0 after group play. The guys that I went with, everyone was 4-0 after group play. So DPS was 4-0. My cousin Sean was 4-0. Joseph was 4-0. Flo was 4-0. Tecmo Bo's 4-0. And even Tecmo Psycho's 4-0. And then, so yeah, we ended up taking a lot of the top seeds at the tournament, and we went into the championship play. And so this was a long day at Tecmo because in total I got in 11 games, and group play was only 4 of them. So this is where I was a 9 seed in the championship bracket. I think the top 8 all had buys, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so my first round, and Mike, the organizer, was like, your first round opponent is Slosh. You're gonna make easy work of him. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I didn't know how drunk Jimmy was going to be. And Jimmy came over, and he had a ton to say to me the whole time. I think he was talking to me after every single play. I called the matchup in this Dolphins Eagles. I don't know if Jimmy could have even at this point said two teams that were in the NFL. That's how gone he was. He was talking to me the whole time, like I said. I was trying to be respectful and not call hike before he was looking at the screen, because he's literally like in my face when the play should be going. So the game took way longer than it should have, probably 40 minutes plus. But it was 62-0. Jimmy had a lot of jokes for me. He didn't punt the whole time until the fourth quarter, where he was like, he's like, in the fourth quarter, he's like, I just got a punt. He's like, I got to be safe. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you just you just didn't punt the whole game, and you're down by over 50 points. But anyways, that was Jimmy, 62-0. He said he got into the championship bracket because he was in a 4-player group, and there were 3 1-3s, and I guess he had the best point differential. So he was shocked he was even in the championship bracket. But he came up later in the tournament to play, I think, T-mode on the stream, and he wasn't as drunk that time, but he did still fall out of his chair when he played against me. So then the next game I had a real championship level opponent, and that was Todd Daniels. Todd I've never played before, but I know he's done pretty decent at Madison before, and he did play at the Equalizer tournament that we had in October. With Todd, he called Raiders KC. Now, usually in this kind of matchup, I pretty much always go to the better quarterback for the most part. The Raiders, though, I make an exception. I don't want to try to play defense against Bo Jackson, and I rather use Bo Jackson, because even if you're not known for your running, you could pull moves off with Bo Jackson at 75 max speed that you can't do with other running backs. So I went with the Raiders. This game was definitely my toughest of the day so far. It was a little back and forth. I was fortunate in the first half to get I think it was either first play or kick return fumble. Still had to punch it in for a score, but I did that. And then after the first touchdown, Todd kind of owned the rest of the first half. And it ended up being 14-7 after the first half. He was in the lead. But I did kick off, so I returned, was able to score a touchdown. I'm trying to think if he did anything. No, he didn't really score at all in the second half until the very end. So I was able to get 2 touchdowns and a field goal in the second half. So Bo Jackson really turned it up. I started to pass a little bit. He wasn't guessing pass, so I was getting easy passes off with that strategy. And at one point, it was 24-14. He threw a quick JJ down with like less than 2 minutes left, kicked the field goal. So he's only down 24-17, and then he went for the onside kick, and he didn't get it. And that was pretty much the game. But it was a good game. If I wasn't fortunate enough to get a couple fumbles in this game, it might have ended differently. But it was a well-played game, and it was seesawing back and forth. He kind of owned the first half, and I owned the second half. So I moved on there to play Tecmo Psycho for the first time. And I knew he won the tournament last year. He called the matchup. It was a San Diego and Denver matchup. This isn't a matchup I call anymore. I used to back in the day. The quarterbacks are just a little bit lacking, but they're a very equal team. So I did go with San Diego. He got 2 quick scores in the first quarter on just like quick streak routes with John Elway. And those are throws that can go either way, really. Like Elway could throw a pick, he could throw it off, but he was dead on the money on his first 2 throws. And in the first quarter, he's up 14-0. So I'm like, man, I know he's good, so this is going to be an uphill battle from here. I was able to actually slow him down at this point. Had a couple chances in the third quarter. I was driving down the field after getting the ball at halftime. It was still 14-0. I went for it on a fourth down and had a wide open running back, stationary. Billy Joe throws it to him on fourth down, drop catch, turnover on downs. Right after that, probably the next play or two, I get a JJ pick with Gil Bird. So I'm like, all right, I'm still in this game, still plenty of time left in the third. Then I just make a bad passing mistake. I throw it in the middle of the field to a double covered receiver. I just mistapped the buttons, and then he got a pick. And from there on, there wasn't really too much time to come back, and the game just ended 14-0. So all the scoring was done in the first quarter, and that was it. But I at least felt confident if I played him again that I might be able to stop him a little bit. But he got the best of me there. Next matchup was against Tim Moat, and Tim Moat was on the stream a couple times. He was friends with Donnie, the guy I played in group play, so he had a bit of a scouting report on me, and I saw Donnie and Tim talking about what matchup he should pick versus me. This is the first time I deferred in the tournament, and he picked a good matchup because it's not something that I'm used to playing, and that's Patriots Colts. These are the clunker matchups. You either know them or you try to get through them, and I'm a guy who likes to try to get through them. Those aren't matches that I call in these tournaments, so I went with the Patriots. I feel like with the Patriots, Lippett just gives you advantage defensively with his speed and interceptions at 63. And both offenses kind of suck. You know, the Colts are a little bit faster. Bentley, I think, so 44 max speed. The quarterbacks are both subpar. And yeah, so we played this game out. It was kind of close in the first half. I mean, it was only like 7-3. Really wasn't feeling it. You know, I was one JJ away from this being like a really tight game, but I was able to take control in the third quarter. Got up 24-3 with the Patriots. I got him to throw a couple picks. I think Lippett even had like 2 picks, and then after that, it was over with. I did get one. I think one JJ throw to Irving Fryer, and that's sometimes what ends up deciding some of these matches are just like the JJs to Marv Cook, Irving Fryer, on the other side Brooks. So and then I know the Colts defense. I think their highest INT guys, Mark Pryor with 44 interceptions. That's just not going to cut the mustard defensively. So I was able to take care of that one in a sketchy match, and then from there on out, I'm like, I'm not deferring again. I'm not playing that crap. And then the next game was against DPS. So DPS, I've played now quite a bit. He's come to D-Man Tap to play. So far, I've had his number. In the car though, and even on a like scrimmage stream, he beat Tecmo Bo a couple times, so he could definitely play because Tecmo Bo won this tournament. So far, DPS has, like I said, he hasn't fared too well against me. Even in the equalizer tournament, I was able to beat him, but he picked Jets Cardinals, and I went with the Jets. The Jets have just a better quarterback. I like how their defensive players are laid out with McMillan up there as the safety, and then I can use Bird or Clifton in coverage. So definitely went for the Jets in that matchup. This game was very similar to the one that I played earlier with Tecmo Psycho. I got up early 14-0. He had an early fumble, and then that's first quarter 14-0, and that's actually the way the game ended, was just 14-zip. He just, couldn't get much going with the Cardinals offense. There wasn't much going in the running game. And as you know, the Cardinals receivers are slow. They're not going to get down the field. So he a bit on me, but ultimately it wasn't quick enough to make a difference. I kind of sputtered offensively in the second half. I think even threw 1 pick, but it didn't really matter. Defense was good enough. So I moved on to the next match. The next match was against Mike Ferris. And Mike Ferris, I found out, was a friend of Tecmo Psycho. So he has a good player to play with. And I guess he's his college buddy. So I called the matchup in this one. It was Rams Eagles. I like to call that matchup, you know, where the Eagles can't really run too much. They have slow running backs. Their secondary's slow, so the Rams can carve them up a little bit. So the way I play this one is I just kind of try to keep QB Eagles in front of everything and make them slowly drive down the field. Well, where I just kind of like play contain, prevent defense. And then offensively, I just let it rip. I just throw them to Ellard and Anderson all day long. In this one, it panned out. Final score was 21-9. We both scored 3 times, but I was able to do exactly what I planned to do in this match, and that's just play contain and keep him honest. And he played a really good game. He was driving down the field on me, just couldn't get it in the end zone. I thought late in the game he was maybe playing a little bit too conservative. He wasn't taking any shots down the field, which you can do against the Rams. So all in all, it was a good game. He really wanted a rematch versus me after this, and I definitely would have granted it to him had I not been running the stream and wanted to watch the later games. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to play him again because he's a good player, and look out for him in a tournament in the future. And then I see some of the comments. Hi, Super Luke. And I'll get to some of the questions in a second. So my next match. So at this point, I've played, what, 10 games? I've already played 10 games. It's probably 9 p.m. or so. I could have played the game with Tecmo Psycho, but they wanted, and I agreed to get the Beer League Bracket Championship on the stream. So part of the reason this tournament went a little bit long is just because there was only one stream set up. So we let that game play out first and waited to play the Final Four all on the stream because I wanted to get those games on there. So the championship matchup, I think a guy named Rob won it, if I'm not mistaken. It was a Rams Steelers Beer League bracket. The guy who used the Rams won. The Steelers just, their offense wasn't good enough. That's all I could say. So that game played out, and then I had to play Tecmo Psycho again. So this is now the Final Four. And at this point, I know he's been drinking a while, but I probably call a bit. No, I don't probably call. I did call a poor matchup. It made him think a little bit, but ultimately it wasn't something that I should call if I was serious about getting to the next round. But I was thinking ahead, so I called Rams Buffalo, and he actually was thinking about taking the Rams over Buffalo because of the poor secondary of Buffalo. And that was the weakness that I was trying to exploit. I thought, you know, after not scoring on him in the first game, I was going to make sure that I score on him in this game and just try to go back and forth with them and try to minimize Buffalo's offense. The mistake in this one is I had a less powerful defense. When I played him before in the San Diego Chargers Broncos matchup, he didn't really do anything with the run game, so I wasn't thinking that his run game was going to be a huge factor in this one. But that's when he busted out some moves with Thurman Thomas and was juking me all over the field with Humphrey and Newsome with their 50 max speed, and that just wasn't enough to cut it to slow down Thurman Thomas. So the game started out just as I expected. We went back and forth with touchdowns real quick. There was a point at 7-7 where he went on for it on 4th and 9 in his red zone, and he was fortunate enough to come away just with the first down on the cutscene measurement. And at that point, he was able to score. the next drive, and maybe have 2 plays, and he gets me on a safety, and then that really screwed me up. So now I'm down 16-7. He has plenty of time to not only score a touchdown but waste the clock out for the second half. So he does get up 23-7, and then from there it's an uphill battle. I'm able to score a field goal and a touchdown from there, but I just couldn't stop him with the Rams defense, and he ends up winning 37-17. So that ended my tournament 9-2. Overall, I was happy with it. I knew going in that I would have a shot to be up there, so I figured to play Tecmo Psycho. But he was the only one on the top that I've never played before. In the first match, match I played him, he introduced me to the Ruble, and what the Ruble is, it's just a sweep down. On the sweep down, you know, the running play that everyone says is the best play in Tecmo Super Bowl is the run, shoot, sweep down. Well, he doesn't call the play, but he's really good at dive tackling through a blocker to knock you down, and that killed 2 of my drives in that first game, and I even fumbled once or twice with Marion Butts. So he introduced me to that, and I was ready for it next time, but it's a really good move. He's a great player, so I have to go back to the drawing board if I ever play him again. So that ended my tournament 9-2. Did get a trophy for 4th place. I was not expecting that at all. So they had tons of stuff to give away at the tournament. They had like a Nintendo controller on a chain for the most turnovers. What else did they have? They had like a powder puff trophy. They had some like other crazy trophies. The least, when Flo got his 3rd place award, he just chucked it across the room. He was not having a 3rd place after going on techmobile.org and the Tundra Bowl thread and saying that, you know, he's ready to play the champion of Tundra Bowl after he wins Bloomington. So he didn't live up to that, but you know, he played great in the next round. He just had a bad 4th quarter, and that was all she wrote. I did break down in the video I did with Thule and Odell and Sagathon what happened in the Final Four. But basically the way it came down, Flo and Tecmo Psycho, they had like a drinking fest final to see who goes to play Tecmo Bowl. And Tecmo Psycho wins with the Eagles over the Giants. And it was looking like Flo was going to win, honestly. He played good. He had a blocked field goal when he was up 7-3. It would have made it 10-3. And then from there, it just went haywire, and Tecmo Psycho won. And then in the last match, Tecmo Psycho did pull one out by a last-second field goal, 17-14 over Tecmo Bow. But then in the final elimination game between the 2 guys, it was a Raiders-Bears matchup picked by Tecmo Psycho. Bo got the Raiders, and he did what he does with the Raiders, and it was 28-7, and he won the game. He won the championship. He won the belt. He's the champion of Illinois, as we're calling it. It was a great tournament overall. You know, the Bloomington locals are all good people. They were having a great time. They probably knew we were the outsiders, but I didn't feel like I was an outsider at all. I just felt like I was at another Tecmo tournament. So yeah, they were just having a blast. You know, they were cool, like talk to, and they were learning from some of the players, and it was just a great time. I enjoyed all the people there. I enjoyed the people in my group and everyone I met. So yeah, it's a tournament Tecmo experience. It's a very well run tournament. You're not going to get the cash prizes that you get at some of the other tournaments, but it's definitely a recommend if you want to just have a party that just so happens to be a Tecmo tournament there. The only thing I didn't like about the tournament is that it's on the same day as the Tundra Bowl, because I did want to go to the Tundra Bowl after liking the tournament last year, but I had to make that tough choice. And since Bloomington was closer and I wanted to check out the way this tournament was ran, ended up going there. And don't regret my decision. It was a great tournament. It gave me a chance to finish in the Final Four. I don't think I would have done that at Tundra Bowl. They had some elite players at that tournament. Yeah, Tecmo Bloomington, if you guys are looking for a more casual Tecmo experience, this is it. But at the top, there's some top talent there that you'll have to play against. I hear a lot of people saying like they want to get their buddies to a tournament because they used to play games with them back in the day, or they used to play Tecmo with them back in the day. This is the tournament to do that at. One of the, Nick the commish, he does a retro sports gaming monthly with me, and he says that a lot. Like his buddies want to go to the tournament, but they don't want to go get crushed. Well, this is the tournament to come play at, because you're not going to get crushed. There might be one guy in your group who's going to be the superior player, but you could have a lot of good games and have a good time and not feel like you have to win a bunch of games to prove yourself. All right, so at this point, I'll look in the chat and see if there's any questions about Bloomington Tecmo. So we got someone asking about the NHL 94 tournament. DPS is a class act. Commish is a Sega legend. Just a bunch of comments, nothing, no real questions. So yeah, I think I'll give it another minute or two, but overall, this is a great tournament. The 15th tournament. If you ever get a chance to see that belt, hopefully Tecmo Bowl will show it off in the future and shows up to Madison with it. I'm going to see if he'll come out to D-Men Tap and show it off to the locals. But thing's heavy, so I could see him not wanting to bring that out. But it's a masterpiece. It really is. I love that belt. I wanted to get my hands on it, but it just wasn't in the cards this year. Chat says, any word on Flo? How is he holding up? I think he's holding up just fine. He's holding up just fine. He wasn't trying to accept third. He wasn't trying to accept it, but he's holding up just fine. All right. Would a guy like B Wong be able to hang at the Blono Tecmo tourney? He would probably he might have a couple close games, but ultimately, unless he steps up his game a little bit, he's not gonna fare too well. Like I said, the Bloomington locals do know how to play Tecmo. They've been playing for quite a while, so there's a few newer players, but overall they have some knowledge of how to play the game. All right, this is the last question I'm going to ask you or answer here. Bigger class act, Tecmo Bowl or Flow? I think to this point, from what I've seen, Tecmo Bowl has to be the choice. But Flow's more entertaining. That's for sure. Is the Oilers-Eagles a good tournament matchup? That one is rough. You can do it. It's just the Eagles secondary is not going to do too well slowing down the Oilers passing game. They don't really have much of a run game, the Oilers, but the thing is the Oilers have the secondary to combat the Eagles passing game. So I don't like the matchup too much. The Oilers definitely have the advantage in that. But you could call it if you're a big Eagles player and play the ball control game and try to get away with it. All right, the questions are getting crazier. That's gonna wrap it up for me. Yeah, I just appreciate Tim, Mike Peach, Chris, Reeves, all those guys for throwing the tournament for us. And hope to be back next year. That's for sure. Have a good night.